Hello, Steve White, Steve White 89. Well, I finally saw the original Silent Night, Deadly Night, which I think was the first like horror Christmas movie. But there was another film called Silent Night, Bloody Night, which I guess was the first. And either way, they both got kind of protested by religious types who didn't like this holiday getting the horror movie treatment. Now, the film was released in November 1984. I think it was the 9th of November. It was made on a budget of $750,000. It made $2.5 million. So I think it did okay because it was a little independent film. It was written by Paul Kaimeyer. I'm not sure how you say his name. The screenplay was by Michael Hickey, and Charles E. Seller Jr. directed it. And they did a fairly good job. It's a fairly solid horror movie. It's not quite in the vein of your typical slasher film, and it's not Texas Chainsaw Massacre either. It's not like torture porn and gore. It just has a lot of really disturbing, horrific moments where you are just like, oh my god, I had to stop the film a couple of times and just be like, oh, I don't want to watch the rest of this. But I wanted to watch the rest of it because it was so good, but I just needed a moment. And I don't get that from many horror movies, because I've seen a lot of horror movies and I didn't think there were any good ones left that I hadn't seen, but I knew, this was out there and I hadn't seen it. So found them on YouTube 1 and 2, so after this I'm going to watch part 2. But so the story is pretty horrific. 1971, there's a family driving to see a relative, the grandfather, who is in a mental facility. Now, the main kid, Billy, is about 5, I think, at this point. He's got a baby brother, and when they go to see the grandfather, he's faking being catatonic, and when the parents go off to speak to the doctor, he talks to the kid and basically tells Billy, do you know what Christmas is? Christmas is when Santa punishes naughty kids and naughty people and scares him. And then the parents come back, he goes back into playing catatonic, and they go home. And the kid basically starts to freak out, and they sort of work out that, the father was speaking, maybe we should call the doctor. And then they see Santa on the side of the road with a broken down car. Now, we just saw a minute ago this Santa robbing a convenience store and shooting the store owner in the head. But they stop. The kids tell him, no, don't, but they do. And he pulls out a gun fairly quickly. The father tries to reverse and get out away from him. He shoots him in the head. He comes and he pulls the wife out. He throws her down the ground. He rips her shirt open, and he slashes her throat. And then, what's her. And the kid saw all of this. He ran away initially and then hid in the bushes, but he was close enough to see all of this and see what happened. The Santa comes after him, doesn't find him, and the kid ends up in an orphanage with his younger brother. And of course, it's 3 years later, 1974. The kid is traumatized. He's drawing pictures of like reindeers with their heads cut off and Santa Claus and stuff. But of course, because this is a religious orphanage, Catholic or Christian, I'm not sure which one, instead of getting this kid treatment for the post-traumatic stress he's obviously suffering from, they punish him for being bad, basically. So when he shows all these symptoms of post-traumatic stress, they punish him for it. And this evil Mother Superior basically tells him that he deserves to be punished, and punishment is good. It's the only way to heal people and that. So she's basically abusing him and creating a monster. And at first I thought the Santa was going to come back and this adult kid was going to have to confront him, kind of like in Friday the 13th Part 5. But actually you realise after a little while, this guy's going to become a killer. He's going to be the Santa killer. Because you can see all the pieces falling into place, and it's just disturbing. So he gets in trouble. The Mother Superior sends him away. There's a sympathetic nun who basically tells him he can come back and leave his room and go out and play with the other kids. On his way out, he hears some noises and sees one of the nuns and a man having sex in one of the rooms. The Mother Superior catches him, catches them. She belts them. And then she asked him what he saw. He said he didn't understand what he saw. She said that's good. They were being naughty. They had to be punished. And then she takes him away and beats him for belt because, I don't know, I mean, the other nun told him to go out and he couldn't help but look in the room when he heard these weird noises. So he's being punished for nothing. So So now we go to him being, it's 1984, I guess he's around 18, and the nun's looking for work for him. And she gets him work in a toy store, which is awesome, because it's a 1984 toy store and they have real toys. So I spent about all, like the scenes in the toy store, I'm just looking at the background, like, oh my God, there's a Muppet, there's a Rolf, there's, a Cookie Monster, there's a Miss Piggy, there's E.T., there's, there's a Kroll game. And then, oh my God, there's Smurfs everywhere. There's plush Smurfs and Smurf games and Smurf books, and they had a Castle Grayskull up on a top thing with like one of the displays that the He-Man went in, which is really hard to find now. It was just like I just was really distracted in every scene in the toy store looking at the toys. But yeah, he's doing really well at first, but then when it gets to be Christmas time and he starts to see the first picture of Santa roll out, he becomes triggered. He starts acting weird. He's having fantasies about one of the women who works in the store, who's very beautiful. And there's a shot of him and her in bed together. And it starts off from a shot of his ass. And he's very handsome, very tall, blonde, very, very cute, very handsome guy. Like 6 feet tall. And they start off on these buttons, slowly pan up to the two of them. And you only see a little bit of her nudity. So it's one of those rare instances where the man and woman are just as nude. And it's a fantasy. Now we get to like the end of the season and the Santa is called in sick. So they actually dress him up in the Santa costume and make him be Santa. And he has these kids who don't want to sit on his lap because a lot of kids are scared of Santa. And he's quietly saying to them, you're being naughty. If you keep being naughty, you'll be punished. I'll punish you. So they all be quiet. He's traumatizing them. And I'm watching this like, oh my God, this is horrible. And then eventually the store owner closes up because, the night's over. It's like, let's have drinks, party. The season's over. We've got through Christmas. And of course, he gives this kid alcohol. He's probably never drank in his life, gets him drunk. And he's telling him, oh, you're Santa Claus, you've got a lot of work to do tonight. You know what Santa does, right? He's like, yeah, he knows what Santa does. He punishes people. He punishes naughty people. So, and he sees the girl he likes go off with the other guy who's been bullying him the whole time. Is this dude wearing cowboy boots and a polo shirt. And I'm like, I like cowboy boots. They're hot, but with a polo shirt, no. So he deserved to die from the start. But he takes the girl out the back and he gets really aggressive. And she's like, stop. And he rips her shirt open, exposing her breasts. And she's trying to fight him. And he throws her down. And it's much like the scenario with Billy's mother. So he comes in. He wraps a cord around his neck from the Christmas lights and strings him up and kills him. And at first you're like, good. He was about to, assault her. But then she calls him crazy and attacks him. So he kills her as well. Then the store owner comes in. He gets a hammer in the head. The other lady who works there tries to escape. She manages to hide and set up a trick, and she nearly gets away. She has an axe. She's going to break through the door. She realizes, no, I'll break through the window. And in those couple of seconds, he grabs an arrow and shoots her through the back, so she's dead. I feel bad for her because she didn't do anything wrong. Then the nun shows up because she's looking for him, because she's sort of working out what's happening. And she sees the body. She goes to the police. And she ends up sleeping overnight in the police station. She's trying to work out what's happening. Now, he goes to another house. He just seems to be randomly looking for people now. And there's a babysitter who is making out with her boyfriend. Now, she's in nothing but panties. The guy's in jeans. I'm like, why isn't he at least in his underwear? Like, get your pants off. But no. So we get back to this typical 80s scene where the man's always fully dressed and the woman's just totally naked. So I'm like, there's something about that shot of that guy that was very vulnerable. But I guess they were doing it that way. So the little kid comes down and she's like, don't come down, you're being naughty, go back up. The kid goes up and she goes to let in the cat. Now she doesn't put on her top and go to the door in like panties and a top. She puts these little shorts on that are cut shorter than her underwear. You can see her underwear anyway. And then she's standing at the front door to let the cat in with her boobs out. So he comes in, chases her around. And there's a fairly disturbing scene where they do it mostly in a master shot where it's very physical and he ends up throwing her on the antlers of like a moose on the wall. And earlier in the film you noticed about 40 minutes in that the film was switching between really good quality remastered shots and more grainy contrasty shots that were probably taken from a work print or something that are like deleted scenes. and you see the antlers go through her chest and through her boobs and through her nipples, and that's like a shot that's clearly was cut out originally. So it looks like they've reinserted undeleted scenes in this film. So he kills her. He fights with the guy, and it's fairly realistic again, kind of wide shots, and looks like fairly decent stunt work. And then he throws him through a window, and then he just goes off in the night. We don't see him again. Now the nun wakes up with the police officer. She says, I understand why this is all happening. It's all logical if you understand what this kid's gone through. And he's like, well, what's he going to do next? And they realize the orphanage. So they send a cop to the orphanage, and he arrives, he sees a Santa walking into the yard towards the kids. He yells out, stop, freeze, nothing. He doesn't listen, so he shoots him in front of the kids. More trauma, more like, oh my God. And turns out he was a volunteer that just happened to be deaf. So he's like a 50-year-old guy with bad hearing, and he didn't hear the guy. So this guy's traumatized. The bitch nun, the Mother Superior, chastises him when she's the one responsible for all this. She's the one who has this warped idea of punishment and all this religious dogma she was putting on everyone else. She's in a wheelchair now. Now he goes out to look for the guy. He ends up getting an axe in the head and falling down some stairs and dying. And then one of the kids lets Billy, the main guy, sorry, his name is Billy, in, because of course he's Santa Claus. So the nun's about to get it. That's not the nun. The Mother Superior, the evil Mother Superior, is about to get an axe in the head. I'm like, yes, kill this bitch. She deserves it. She caused all this. And he gets shot in the back by the detective, who gets there with the other nun just in time. So the nun is holding him as he dies, and as he falls down, he grabs the Mother Superior's arm in the chair, and she like shakes it off, like, ugh, you disgust me. I'm like, excuse me, bitch. You're responsible for all this. You're no better than him. You're evil. So he dies. That's the end. And it was just a really disturbing horror movie where so many things happened that were just horrific. And I don't mean, torture porn gore. I just mean just horrible things. Like, she even did I mention that she belts him because he sees the people in the room, and she's really belting him, and she belts the other people. And you see this little girl who's sitting on his lap when he's Santa Claus, and she doesn't want to be there, and he's like threatening her really quietly, and she's just terrified, and she does what it's just so many things in this film are disturbing and scary, and it just is really good. I didn't think there were any good 80s horror movies that I hadn't seen, because I feel like I've seen them all, because I'm a fan of 80s horror, and late 70s through to mid 80s, early 90s horror is the best horror. And there are only a couple of films yet that I've heard of that I haven't seen yet, and this was one of the ones I'd never been able to find. Like I said, I saw the third, fourth, and fifth sequels that weren't very good, but this one was really good, and I've got the second one to watch next. But yeah, this is not like Rob Zombie's attempt to show how Michael Myers became Michael Myers. This kid, you understand how he was traumatized, how he was abused, how he was triggered, and all the things that fell into place to make him this person. You have sympathy for him. It's like it was unavoidable that he turned out to be this person who went on this spree, this Santa costume spree killing on Christmas Eve. And yeah, it was really good. I don't have much else to say other than I feel a little traumatized, and glad I finally saw this film, and now I'm about to watch the second one. I can't believe I've been talking for 13 minutes. But I just couldn't tell the whole story and do it justice without going over 5 minutes, which is my normal review. But yeah, the actor was really attractive, really cute, really good at playing the part, and it was well acted, and you did feel sympathetic to him the whole time. And they do show him in a lot of vulnerable ways, like that shot with the girl and that, where all the other sex scenes where the men fully dressed, the woman totally naked. This one, they were both naked, both vulnerable, and they had that lingering shot of him. And I just feel bad for him, and I'm wondering, is the sequel, is he going to come back? And it's not very often I feel any sympathy for a killer, but yeah, it's like he had a psychotic break, and it's not like he's Freddy Krueger or someone like that, or a monster like Jason Voorhees. So it's interesting character. I'm wondering if they're going to do anything interesting with him in the sequel, or just have another random guy dressed up as Santa, but I'll see in a few minutes. I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Thanks. Bye.